to the stage our next presenter, Rida Zeng.
Hi, good evening. So how many of you have ever been to a doctor's office, being asked to rate your pain with a scale, and don't even know what to say? 1 in 4 US adults live with chronic pain, and it's the leading cause of disability worldwide, even surpassing diabetes, depression, and hypertension combined. Hi, my name is Rida Zeng, and my thesis is Metaphor as Medicine, Revealing Meaning to Transform Chronic Pain. I've been living with a herniated disc since I was 11, and here's how I'd describe my pain. I feel there's static coming down my calf, sparks under my foot, and sometimes an ice-cold limb that doesn't belong to me. We instinctively reach for metaphors to describe pain because this is the only language we have for something that's so unfamiliar. It's both a bridge and a portal. Inward, it helps us make sense of our own experience, and outward, to communicate to others what's otherwise inexpressible. To better understand how metaphor and chronic pain work with one another, I investigated sources across cognitive science, philosophy, psychology, cultural history, game studies, and health communication. And I spoke with over 40 patients, clinicians, designers, and academics. I learned that doctors use metaphors to explain complex science so patients understand what's happening inside their body. But the patients often lack effective ways to communicate their pain. They often feel misunderstood and frustrated. Clinicians believe emotional support is crucial for patients to build motivation towards their own pain management, and that is honored by psychotherapists who use metaphor as a powerful cognitive device to help patients reauthor their experience with pain. And it works by interrupting the self-perpetuating cycle where patients become hyper-focused and then physiologically hypersensitized to pain. But this support has its own barriers across awareness, specialization, and coverage. So psychotherapy and medicine exist on a spectrum of meaning-making and communication with tension. The more legible pain is, the more it is simplified. The more meaning it carries, the harder it is to access. Patients are called being a patient and a body in pain. So how might we build stronger everyday support infrastructure that leverages metaphor as a scaffolding for both meaning-making and communication, and help people navigate the debilitating in-between time? I hosted 2 creative workshops that focused on externalizing pain sensations and forging identity, and 2 things became clear. 1, the act of expressing your own pain in metaphor, the very act of choosing, marking, naming, is therapeutic. The process of meaning-making itself is the medicine. And 2, individuals have communication preferences, and even the same person reaches for different modalities of metaphor at different moments. So no single format is enough, and the tool needs to be versatile. Everything I learned so far maps across 2 axes, from meaning-making to communication, and from sensation to identity. So I designed 4 solutions targeting each quadrant across the spectrum. Painting Discomfort is a 3-sided pop-up. It invites strangers with chronic pain to use the pain archetype cards as visual inspirations, sink into their own body, and leave a drawing of how their body feels on a piece of community patchwork quilt. And here's the video.
Gives me a lot of confidence.
The thing is to enjoy life, to try to be present, to know that you're here.
Feel your feels. Kindness is free, and you cannot heal what you don't reveal.
In 2 hours, 23 strangers contributed, and people wanted this scale to broader chronic pain community, and I see Painting Discomfort becoming a research service to explore the shared languages of pain. And what goes deeper than grasping the sensation of pain is to understand who we are in relation to it. So Imago is a physical identity building kit built on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey designed for home use. It invites users to look beyond their history with pain and through the tactile act of making forges an aspirational identity. And here's how it works. So far, we've been making meaning for ourselves in analog ways. But how do we make this experience more accessible and get it in front of clinicians who can actually act on it? From interviews, I learned that people perceive the overwhelming number of wellness offerings to be alienating from their actual personal experience. And what they want is active self-authorship in a safe space. That's why end users are more inclined to use large language models for emotional support because it's low stakes and engaging. However, models in unbounded context can do real harm, and that's why I created Tender. Tender is a digital expansion of Imago and a creative AI companion. Every day, the user receives a single prompt and can respond however feels right. Draw, photograph, or narrate. And then share the work with Mira, an AI facilitator who asks a few questions to surface the creative decision-making process behind what they made. And over time, Tender synthesizes the sessions into a personal metaphor system, such as recurring emotions, a color palette, and their unique language patterns, building a living record of how users understand themselves. And behind the front end is an entire architecture of ethical guardrails. It operates on two levels. One, AI configuration, what Mira knows, how she responds, and when she stops. And two, the user interaction design, what prompts they receive and how they create and how they can engage with the AI. So the system runs on an automated evaluation loop, never self-updates, and returns every critical decision-making back to human hands. 70% of chronic pain sufferers who tested it reported feeling something new about their body from just a single session. And our therapist believed it was asking the right questions, and the patients saw it as an appealing entry point into long-term journaling practices. And the vision is for Tender to become a clinical companion where therapists guide the experience so patients feel supported outside appointments. And then clinicians get better informed to build better care. PainBridge is Tender's medical side counterpart, a B2B2C platform designed to surface and translate complex pain profiles for both parties. Patients sign up for PainBridge when scheduling a return appointment with a clinic and receives automated check-ins between appointments to log in their experience on a web app. The system remembers the previously reported conditions and checks in with the patient to track new contextual triggers for their pain. And based on information shared, it auto-selects the relevant pain types as brushes for them to paint onto a digital body chart. Next, the patient fills a short survey about how pain functionally interferes with their everyday life, reviews a generated summary, and submits, all done in 5 minutes. And then 2 days before the next appointment, the system distills everything into an email summary for the doctor. This includes qualitative and quantitative information about the patient's recent pain history that's scannable in under 30 seconds. So patients create a meaning while documenting, and clinicians walk into the room already knowing what's happened. Both sides spend less time reconstructing the past and more time planning forward. Building this required designing for the real constraints of the healthcare system. PainBridge collects only non-PHI data, runs as a standalone platform to circumvent around EHR integration, and requires no app download. And the vision is to transform short-term treatment into long-term care. So there's fewer emergency visits from communication breakdowns and a stronger patient-provider trust so patients stay motivated in everyday life. Patients and clinicians gave extremely positive feedback. A director of medical informatics at Norfolk commented, It would help me start my day or set up my consultation, so I can spend more time on specific things rather than trying to get the whole story. There's space for pain bridge. Historically, patient agency and clinical legibility have always been in tension, and pain bridge argues they don't have to be. I'm building a scaffolding system that uses metaphor as a design material, so people can arrive at their own understanding of pain and express how they'd like to be understood. So understanding brings clarity, and clarity brings comfort. Pain is a linguistic problem, not just a medical one. And metaphor built carefully is medicine. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey. This thesis would not have metamorphosed without you, and neither would I.
Wow, so much. Rida. Okay, I love that pain is a linguistic problem. But before that, what you said, metaphor as a design material. What? Yeah, so I mean, that itself is such an incredible metaphor. Can you talk about what materials we need to be working with as metaphorical designers?
Absolutely, brilliant question, Sinclair.
Thank you, Rida.
So there's a difference between analogy and a metaphor. Analogy is about we comparing one thing to another, and metaphor is about we trying to structure our understanding of one thing in terms of another. And one cool framework that I use to guide my design process as a designer is I try to map a spectrum of representation. So for example, like we start with very abstract reductive numbers, such as the 0 to 10 pain scale we saw. And then there's a linguistic layer, there's a visual representation, and then at the most complex of all, metaphoric systems, which could be mythologies and also games. So I think one cool question to ask that could guide our thinking as designers is what we are trying to achieve when we are thinking about metaphor as a design material. Are we trying to acknowledge the complexity of something by creating a system that represents the full complexity of that thing? Or are we trying to highlight only one aspect of a problem? So we are trying to use like a more simpler modality to explain the original thing.
You're talking about storytelling. You're talking about storytelling. Broadly, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is my wrap up. It's amazing. There's so much in there. We're going to have you come back and keep talking.
Okay.
Thanks, Rida.
Thank you.